Build 2017 took place this week and there's a ton of Azure news, and we're still doing it in 10 minutes. Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Cloud Tech 10 for the 15th of May 2017. I'm Mark and I'm going to tell you all the latest news about Microsoft Azure from the past week in 10 minutes or less. The popular MySQL and PostgreSQL databases have now been added to the family of managed database service offerings available on Azure. MySQL and PostgreSQL databases can now be provisioned in minutes, with built-in high availability and no need to build virtual machines or install and configure database packages. To provision one of these databases from the portal, go to New, then Databases, then choose Azure Database for PostgreSQL or Azure Database for MySQL. I'll go for the MySQL option in this case. Then it's simply a matter of filling in the usual parameters for an Azure resource, such as a name, selecting a subscription, a resource group, providing administrator credentials, and selecting an Azure region. I can choose between MySQL 5.6 or 5.7. In preview, only the basic pricing tier is available. Standard and premium tiers will be coming shortly, but in here I can see the monthly cost of the pricing tier I've selected. It takes only a couple of minutes to provision a new MySQL instance. When it's completed, from the portal I can enable SSL connections to the server or configure firewall rules to restrict access to specified IP addresses. I can view the connection strings for various application types, and I can see the current values or modify the values for common MySQL server configuration parameters. I can modify my pricing tier, and I can get access to the usual range of Azure monitoring and alerting options. Plus, I can choose which MySQL server logs I want to enable and view those log files. The Azure Cloud Shell, now available in public preview, lets you get access to an authenticated shell for managing your Azure resources from virtually anywhere, without the overhead of installing software, tools, and libraries. You can access the Azure Cloud Shell by clicking here. Behind the scenes, Cloud Shell runs on containers orchestrated by Kubernetes, so within a few moments, a new, clean shell session is ready for you to use, with all the tools you need. If I type AZ account list, you can see I'm already authenticated against my Azure subscription. The full Azure CLI is here, so right away I can start typing commands such as AZ VM list, and I'll get a list of virtual machines in my subscription. Cloud Shell includes a number of frequently used tools, so I could run that command again, and this time use JQ to reformat the output. Plus, Cloud Shell comes with some persistent storage. Here you can see that I have a folder named Cloud Drive. If I run the VM list command again and send the output to a file, I can then leave the shell and come back again at some point in the future, or from a completely different device. And my Cloud Drive is still here with my VM list output. The Cloud Drive is backed by Azure file storage kept in your Azure subscription. In fact, the whole of my home directory is kept in the cloud, so customized settings and profiles will persist across sessions. As well as the Azure CLI, other tools include Git, Node.js, Python, and .NET. The tools are kept right up to date, so you don't need to spend time maintaining them. For example, the very latest version of the Azure CLI is installed here, including the new AZ Interactive feature and the commands for the newly announced CosmosDB. Today, the Cloud Shell supports Bash, and PowerShell support is coming soon. Managing Azure resources from anywhere is now much easier with the new Azure Portal mobile app, which is now available in public preview. The app features a favorites view to give you quick access to frequently used resources. From the main resources view, you can see everything in your subscription, and can use the filter options to narrow down the view to specific items of interest. You can drill into a particular resource, such as a virtual machine, to access more information, including activity logs and metrics, and you can even perform operations such as starting, stopping, or restarting. The notifications view will alert you to custom alerts that you've configured or notifications from the Azure service, and the Azure Cloud Shell will be coming soon, allowing you to perform command line Azure administration from your phone. Azure CosmosDB has arrived. If you're using DocumentDB and had some DocumentDB instances in Azure prior to last week, then you'll have noticed that these are now CosmosDBs. It's the same globally distributed, scalable, low latency, high availability, managed database as a service that you're familiar with, but now you have a choice of popular database APIs to use when working with your data. DocumentDB's SQL query language, MongoDB, Azure Table Storage, or the Gremlin Graph Query API are all supported, and the underlying design of CosmosDB makes it possible that further database APIs could be added in the future. When creating a new CosmosDB instance, you'll see you now get to choose which of the 4 APIs you want to use. Once the instance has been created, you can easily configure global replication simply by selecting the regions you want your CosmosDB instance to be available in, or select which of the 5 available consistency models best suits your application's requirements. The recently released Data Explorer has also been updated and can query and view the results for the new database types. The Azure App Service web app on Linux preview has been updated with new features. First, there are new templates that simplify the process of deploying a web app on Linux Dynamics instance alongside a new Azure database for MySQL or PostgreSQL instance. I've chosen the template for MySQL, and you can see alongside the previous two options of ClearDB and MySQL in app, the new Azure database service is also listed here. New features include support for deployment slots. Slots allow you to maintain multiple copies of your web application, which you can then easily swap between. For example, I can create a slot, name it UAT, and clone it from my existing production slot. Once that slot has been created, I can choose that as my deployment target when deploying a new instance of my application. The UAT slot will gain a unique URL that I can direct my test users to, and once I'm happy with the results of user testing, I can swap the UAT slot into production, or I can use slots alongside the testing in production feature, which lets me configure a percentage of traffic to be divided between slots, allowing me to gradually transition production users to the UAT website and give me further confidence that everything is working well before making the site fully live. Manual and automated scaling is now supported. For autoscale, I can define conditions that cause scale out or scale-in events to occur. In this case, I configure auto-scaling to scale out when CPU utilization is greater than 70% for 10 minutes and scale in when CPU usage falls below 30% for 10 minutes. There's also integration with Visual Studio Team Services to make it easy to configure continuous deployment of your application. And there's a full SSH shell you can access to help you when configuring, maintaining, or troubleshooting your application. A preview of the Visual Studio 2017 tools for Azure Functions is now available. The tools require Visual Studio 2017 Preview, which is downloaded separately and can be installed and run alongside your existing Visual Studio 2017 installation. Once installed, creating a new function app is as simple as going to the New Project dialog and selecting Cloud, then Azure Functions. An empty function app is created into which I can add new functions. Right-click on the project and choose Add Item and then Azure Function. I can then choose the type of Azure function I want to create. In this case, I'll select a timer triggered function. In this version of the Visual Studio 2017 tools for Azure Functions, C# functions are now built as pre-compiled functions, which improves the cold start performance compared to script-based functions, and means you can write your functions using the full features of Visual Studio 2017. Once you've written your function code, you can build and test the function locally, and once everything's done, you can publish your function to Azure. The public preview of low-priority virtual machines for Azure Batch has arrived. A low-priority VM offers compute at a significantly reduced cost. VMs are allocated from surplus capacity, and their availability may vary, and access to them can be removed at any time, and without notice. But for workloads that can tolerate interruptions, low-priority VMs provide the opportunity to realize huge cost savings. Low-priority and regular on-demand virtual machine instances can be mixed within Azure Batch pools, and you can change the number of each type of VM that the pool contains at any time. Here I'm using the top-end words example from the Azure Batch Samples GitHub repository. I've slightly modified the code so that instead of provisioning 3 compute nodes in total, it now uses 3 dedicated compute nodes and 20 low-priority nodes. If I run this code and switch to the Azure portal, I'll start to see the compute nodes being provisioned, and you'll notice that 23 nodes, 3 dedicated and 20 low priority, are being created. Once they're created and started, the batch jobs are executed across the available nodes. My batch job will complete more quickly as I have 23 nodes available. Yet because I'm using low priority VMs, I'll pay a fraction of the cost of a dedicated node. A limited preview of the Azure Batch AI training service is now open to registration for early adopters. This new addition to Azure Batch gives data scientists and AI researchers working with deep learning and other AI models access to tools which will help them experiment in parallel using any framework and then train them at scale across clustered GPUs. Code can be packaged up into Docker containers, and Azure Batch will handle the deployment of scalable clusters of Linux or Windows-based virtual machines that can have NVIDIA GPUs and connectivity via InfiniBand, and the deployment of containers and any shared storage. Learning frameworks currently supported include CNTK, TensorFlow, Chainer, and Caffe. A public preview will be available later in the summer, but early adopters can register today at aka.ms/batch training. A limited preview of the Azure Batch rendering service is now available. This brings a pay-per-use model to artists, engineers, and designers using Autodesk Maya, Autodesk 3ds Max, and Solid Angle's Arnold renderer. Azure Batch manages the underlying server infrastructure and can scale to thousands of cores. Plus, Batch will also manage the licensing for Autodesk software, removing the need to stand up and maintain license servers whilst providing a pay-as-you-go model for both the hardware and software. Open source plugins are available to allow you to easily submit jobs without writing code. You can register for this service at rendering.azure.com. That's all for Cloud Tech 10 this week. This is the 10th episode that I've published, and the feedback I've had from you has been fantastic. So thank you so much for letting me know how useful you find these videos. Don't forget to tell your friends and colleagues to watch Cloud Tech 10, hit the like button below, or subscribe to get notified whenever new episodes are added. I'll see you next week. Cheers for watching. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter for more.